All right, good evening, everyone. I am Mayor Shelley Carlson, and it is February 12th, 2024, 5:30 p.m. The Moorhead City Council welcomes public input on issues listed on the agenda or of general community interest, time and council permitting. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each, and we have about 15 minutes set aside on every agenda for citizens addressing the council. If you would like to address the council during the meeting, please fill out a form provided by the city clerk, and we will call you up during the citizens addressing the council item on the agenda. And if you are called up, you will need to, or we would ask that you state your name and if you are a Moorhead resident. If comments were submitted to the clerk prior to the meeting via email or phone, those comments will be entered into record. For more information on participation, please visit the council meetings page on the City of Moorhead website at moorheadmn.gov. We, the Moorhead City Council, collectively and with gratitude, acknowledge the sacred land the City of Moorhead is built upon. We acknowledge the people who have resided here for generations and recognize that the spirit of the Dakota, Ojibwe, Métis, and all Indigenous communities permeates this land. And with that, could I get a roll call, please?
Ryan Nelson.
Here.
Matt Gilbertson.
Here.
Heather Niesmeyer. Here. Laura Caroon. Deb White. Here. Larry Seljevold. Sebastian McDougall.
Here.
Chuck Hendrickson.
Here.
Mayor Shelley Carlson.
Here. And for those who are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Right, and with that, City Manager Molly, do we have any agenda amendments?
Yes, Mayor, we have a request to remove item 8B from the agenda.
Okay. Right, and then moving on to the consent agenda. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, and just so everyone is aware, Councilmember Seljevold is participating online, so we will have to do a roll call vote for every vote. So I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Gilbertson and a second by Councilmember McDougall. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Nelson.
Aye.
Gilbertson.
Aye.
Niesmeyer. White. Yes. Seljevold. I'll come back to him. McDougall.
Aye.
Hendrickson.
Aye.
Seljevold.
I don't know if we're having computer issues with Councilmember Seljevold. Okay. We will move on and hope that he's able to join us, I guess. So then moving on to recognitions and presentations. The first, we do have somebody in the audience that I would like to first recognize, our new Fire Marshal, Mr. Jamie Garvey. I don't know if you would like to come and say a few words and just introduce yourself really briefly at the podium, and welcome to the City of Moorhead. We're excited to have you part of the fire department.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a really warm welcome. This is third week starting today, so just here to learn and excited to grow with Moorhead, and thankful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. We're excited to have you as well. All right, moving on to our Moorheart recognition, and I will turn this over to Lisa Bodie.
Thank you, Mayor Carlson, members of the council. This is a really fun Moorheart. Every Moorheart is fun, but I wanted to say that a few years ago, those of you that were on the council at the time, remember Steve Moore was our public works director, and we had a discussion during our strategic planning on branding, and we talked about what the Moorhead archetype would be. And Steve brought up during that discussion Mr. Cole, who was his son's orchestra teacher, who we have recognized with a Moorheart. But I think those of us that have worked with Steve know he has that Moorheart spirit too. And so it's my pleasure to share in this presentation tonight. So Steve Moore is a part of Moorhead Area Public Schools, and he's being recognized tonight for his leading role in the new Moorhead High School construction and the transition of operations between facilities. Steve has been able to reimagine Moorhead schools effectively and efficiently in the 3 years he served as Director of Operations and Emergency Management of Moorhead Area Public Schools. He's helped lead the district successfully opening the Moorhead High School Career Academy in 2022, of which we are very proud. And most recently, Steve organized and led the transition of equipment, students, and operations from the old high school to the new state-of-the-art facility, which opened just in January of 2024. The cool thing about his nomination, too, is he's nominated by parents, including Nicole Matson, who's here tonight, and Laura Lee Bergen and Keith Voigt. They wrote in the nomination, Steve has been an amazing asset to Moorhead Public Schools. He's a creative problem solver, an incredible planner, and a positive professional. He's proven himself essential to the Moorhead Public Schools leadership team. Steve had to figure out how to move almost everything from the old high school to the new school in just 2.5 weeks in the middle of the school year. He and his team did it so well that our kids' year wasn't disrupted in any way. That's a huge undertaking. As parents of MHS students, we nominate Steve Moore for the Moorhead Award for his outstanding work in our community, supporting Moorhead Area Public Schools. So the hard work that Steve pours into our schools and the students benefits the entire community and does not go unnoticed. So thank you, Steve, for your continued commitment to our community, and the mayor has an award for you. There you are. Okay, great.
All right, I'll keep it to 3 minutes. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm very humbled by this nomination and very appreciative of this award. Who would have thought 10 years ago when I retired from the Air Force and my wife and I brought our kids to this frozen tundra that we'd be here 10 years later and then actually given the opportunity to contribute to the community. So thanks for those who nominated me, very thoughtful. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank, there was hundreds of people involved in this high school project. The team at the district office, all the teachers, the students who actually brought classrooms over themselves in a line like ants marching. It was a sight to see. But that was just one cog in the wheel that made this happen. And I've just had the privilege of leading some of that effort. So thank you from the bottom of my heart to the city of Moorhead. It's nice seeing all the folks I got the opportunity to work with at the city. But you guys are doing great things, and proud to be a member of this community. Thank you.
I was on council when Steve Moore was here, and it was an absolute pleasure to work with him, and his professionalism is just something that really sets a bar high for all of the rest of us who worked with him, and I know that he continues to do that at the Moorhead Public Schools as well, so I'm just absolutely thrilled. So thank you to the nominators, to Steve Moore. He's He's absolutely amazing. All right. So moving on to the 2023 development report, and I will turn this over to Director Christy Lefshewski to give us some exciting information about what happened in Moorhead in 2023.
Thank you, Mayor. With more than 1,000 permits, $156 million in building investment, and new industrial lots ready for construction, Moorhead had a great year in 2023. As I was looking through the report that's in your packet and will be posted on our spotlight tomorrow, I was really struck by so many of the projects were because of partnerships, collaborations, and stakeholders in our community. So I'm going to go through some of those tonight. First, starting with developers and builders, we had an 82% increase in single-family housing units between 22 and 23. Jordal Custom Homes, JV Haug, and Diamond Rock, our top 3 builders in 2023, was 76 new housing units, Jordal Custom Homes being 50 of those units, which is just phenomenal. We saw a 62% increase in multifamily housing units, up from 2022, with enclave construction on Interstate 94 and Sterling Properties with Fairmont Flats literally changing the landscape of our city. We saw combined new construction and remodeling permits for residential and commercial projects, which is the highest we saw in the last 10 years. Our commercial permit valuation was the second highest that we've seen in the past 10 years. And so for both homes and businesses, our construction partners really built up Moorhead in 2023. We also saw a number of infrastructure projects either start or be funded. We saw the Makara Industrial Park expansion, which was made possible from a grant from the state of Minnesota. We saw $11 million for flood mitigation through the state capital investment bill, state and federal funding for the 11th Street rail grade separation, and a grant from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources to respond to emerald ash borer. We also saw a grant from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency to develop climate resilient strategies. So our state and federal partners really are making Moorhead safer, more resilient, and offering new opportunities for businesses. We also saw just tremendous things happen throughout the city from community partners. We partnered and received grant funds for natural plantings at MB Johnson and Southside Regional Parks from Wildlife Forever and United Prairie Foundation. We had our pilot community grant garden program, which resulted in 3 very successful community gardens. The Economic Development Authority provided funding for the FM Community Theater Build-A-Ton-a-thon, which brought people together to construct different art and activity pieces for parks and along the river corridor. The Art and Culture Commission funded utility box wraps, which were local art from local artists. We had a great partnership with the Historical and Cultural Society of Clay County, River Keepers, and a grant from the HDR Foundation to install 17 interpretive signs by Public Works along the River Corridor Trail. And thanks to continued community fundraising, we saw the construction of the new inclusive playground at Southside Regional Park. Midtown Trail connecting Gooseberry and Woodlawn Parks was completed, along with a new accessible boat ramp at MB Johnson Park, thanks to a legacy grant. We saw 3 new pickleball courts at Hansman Park because of a grant from the Minnesota Department of Human Services. We saw and are watching the natural play hill at Riverside Park, which is under construction and is just completely changing the landscape on First Avenue North. And at the request of local residents, Partnership for Health provided grant funds for 5 new benches along the trail at Southside Regional Park. So construction, development, experiences, Moorhead saw all of these because of our partners in 2023, and we are taking that same energy and moving into 2024. So just thank you to everyone who made all of these things possible.
Thank you, Director Lefshewski. Can you provide information on where this will be posted tomorrow? Because there's a lot of information and some folks might want to delve into it a little bit more.
Absolutely. It's a great report. It will be available on the homepage of the city website under the spotlight.
Right. Well, thank you to the exceptional city staff and all of the community partners. I think when you have city staff like we have in the city of Moorhead who really put their hand out to build relationships, it really shows how you can work towards developing innovative ways to address complex problems and find solutions. So great job, Christy, and to City Manager Molly and to all of the staff in the city of Moorhead. We had a phenomenal year in 2023, and I just know that even 2024 is even going to be breaking records as well. Moving on to the third item under recognitions and presentations. This is the recognition for a Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. And I'm not sure if I'm supposed to turn this over to, okay, City Manager Molly.
Certainly, yeah, and I'll introduce Finance Director Flanagan in just a second. But to Community Development Director Christy Lashevsky's comments, she started with partnerships, and we kind of believe that it's more than just a catchphrase, but that it's a continuous process that grows stronger when we devote ourselves to working together on something good. And so, we just believe with all our heart and appreciate the partnership that we've had with the City Council as well, that we can do big and great things here in Moorhead because we do them together. So thank you for that. And I have some really good news on the finance end of things as well. The Government Finance Officers Association of the United States has awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting to the City of Moorhead. And this is significant because the award is judged by an impartial panel of cities that meet the highest standards of the GFOA, and that includes demonstrating full, open financial procedures, processes, and disclosures. And so it's the highest form of recognition that a governmental finance agency can attain, and it really is a significant accomplishment. And this has shown up under the leadership of our finance director, Jenica Flanagan, and our assistant city manager, Mike Reitz, and the entire finance team in some incredible ways, such as the upgrade in the bond rating, which was just real incredible in the sale of bonds for some significant public infrastructure earlier in the year, and a large utility bond. I mean, coming through at our last meeting at 3.5%, which is just incredible in this time of kind of higher interest rates. Before, right when Jenica Flanagan was starting, we went and we refinanced all of Moorhead's old bond debt at and just an incredible under 2%. Before the interest rates really changed, saving taxpayers and ratepayers in Moorhead millions of dollars. And the other thing that I really appreciate when I've met with this team is that really the checkbook in Moorhead is treated like it's our checkbook in our own home, like it's our household checkbook, which I think is really the responsible thing to do with the public money. And so to that, Jenica, your role as the finance director in Moorhead, your team's contributions to the city are just phenomenally important and helpful. And I want you to know how much we appreciate your professionalism, your work ethic, and your leadership qualities. And to all the taxpayers and ratepayers in Moorhead, I want them to know that they should have the highest confidence in our finance team. I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add, Jenica, but thank you very much.
Thank you, City Manager Molly. And good evening, everyone. As Dan mentioned, the Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in the governmental accounting world. And its attainment represents significant accomplishment by the government and its management. This was actually the 40th consecutive year that the City of Moorhead has received this award, which is incredible. This report takes a team effort, would not have been possible without the efficient and dedicated services of the entire staff of the Finance Department. I would specifically like to express my appreciation and gratitude to our Finance Manager, Megan Zaradka, and our Accountant, Joel Ayer, who worked diligently to complete this report, lots of time and effort into it, and successfully achieve this award. I'd also like to express my appreciation to the members of the city departments who assisted and contributed to the preparation of the report. And credit must also be given to the mayor, city council members, and city administration as well for their support in planning and conducting the financial operations of the city in a responsible, professional, and progressive manner. Thank you all for your role in helping us attain this goal.
Thank you, Finance Director Flanagan. The work that you and your staff do is incredible, and I feel like I keep using the same words over and over again to describe the staff and the work that you guys do. It's incredible, it's phenomenal. It is the level of achievement that you guys provide every day to the citizens, and the work that you do sets a very, very high standard for everyone. So thank you. All right, moving on to the approval of the January 22nd, 2024 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So move, Nelson.
White second.
Nelson and then White. Questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Gilbertson,
Aye.
Niesemeyer,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Seljevold, McDougall,
Aye.
Hendrickson, Nelson.
Aye.
Right, the meeting minutes have been approved. On to citizens addressing council. It's 5:50. We have 15 minutes set aside on the agenda for citizens to address the council. I have two in front of me. The first one is Allison Slavic. If you would like to come and address the council. So for everyone who is here, so this is how it goes for citizens addressing the council. There's this very lovely contraption up here. It looks like a stoplight. So you'll have 3 minutes, and it'll be green for your 3 minutes. And when it turns red, that means your minutes are up and you need to wrap it up. You need to just state your full name and if you are a resident of the city of Moorhead. Start.
Good evening. My name is Allison Slavic. I'm a former resident of Moorhead when I was a student, currently living in Fargo, but I've spent a lot of time in Moorhead doing a lot of community events and serving quite a few of you, I think, in my past years at Junkyard Brewing Company. I'm speaking with you tonight to talk about the humanitarian crisis currently happening in Palestine. For the last 128 days, innocent civilians have been paying the price for a conflict they had zero part in. Since October 7th, more than 30,000 Palestinians have died. That's if you count the thousands presumed dead under the rubble. Nearly 68,000 have been injured. Of the Palestinian lives taken since then, more than 40% of them were minors. That's 12,000 kids gone, an average of nearly 100 children per day. UNICEF says that of those 18,000 injured kids, an estimated 1,000 of them have lost one or both of their legs and had to have those amputated without anesthetic because they are unable to receive aid due to the blockages from Israel into Palestine. Situation is dire. Parents are writing their kids' names on their arms so kids can be identified if they get lost, orphaned, or killed. This year is 6-year-old Hind Rajab. You may have heard her story recently. She was in Gaza in a vehicle with her family when it was surrounded. They made an emergency phone call to be rescued. Everyone in the car except for Hind was shot and killed. She remained there for, we don't know, hours or days before she was found 2 weeks later. No longer alive in that car with her family. The unfortunate part is the Red Crescent was actually working to go in and retrieve her after working several hours with Israel to make that happen, but it appears they deliberately bombed that emergency vehicle trying to reach her. This is just one of the many, many stories we've been hearing for the last over 100 days. Just this last Friday, UNICEF actually urged both parties for to refrain from any military escalation in Rafah, where over 600,000 children, 1.4 million people and their families have been misplaced. Rafah is as far south as they can possibly go. They've been told since the beginning to continue moving south, and they have nowhere left to go. And last night, while we were all watching the Super Bowl, they bombed Rafah. They bombed tents. They bombed civilians. They bombed innocent families. It needs to end. Sure, why does this seem like a Moorhead issue? We're just a city, right? We're not on national scales. But we have Palestinian people who live here and in Fargo, and we have morals, and we have humanity. When it comes down to it, if you really want to talk about the money, we're sending money there. The proposed $17 billion that they want to send over to Israel, there's an organization online that's nonpartisan that can do the math, and over $2 million of Moorhead's taxpayer money could be sent over to help fund a current genocide in Israel. And calling for a ceasefire.
I need to have you end. I'm sorry. The minutes are up. So, thank you. All right, the next person that has submitted a request to speak is, I'm going to try to say your name correctly. Last name is Duranovich, and I don't know how to say your first name. I apologize, and I don't want to say it incorrectly, so I'll allow you to say your name. So if you could state your name and whether or not you live in Moorhead, and we will have your 3 minutes start.
Thank you. Yeah, I get that a lot, so don't worry. My name is Arne Duranovic. I've been a resident of Moorhead, Minnesota since I was 7. I'm here today to speak about the genocide in Palestine that is being committed by the Israeli Defense Force with America's implied support. I only have 3 minutes, so I have no choice but to be brief. As many of you are aware, since the attack on Israel on October 7th, Israel has undertaken military operations that have led to more than 28,000 men, women, and children dead, as well as more than 67,000 wounded, while at the same time making it impossible for much-needed aid to enter the famine-stricken territory. Israel has so far failed to achieve their stated goal of bringing back Israeli hostages taken on October 7th, and even family members of the Israeli hostages are calling for a diplomatic resolution. It is clear after all these months that this military operation is doing nothing but leading to countless innocent civilian deaths, which includes the Israeli hostages via friendly fire. Here are some of the 500 documented quotes from Israeli officials that show the true purpose of this military operation. Israel's defense minister, who is in charge of the military, says, quote, "I have ordered a complete siege on the Gaza Strip. There will be no electricity, no food, no fuel. Everything is closed," end quote. Making no distinction between Hamas militants and citizens, he added, quote, "We are fighting human animals and we are acting accordingly," end quote. Talking to troops on the border, he said, quote, "We will eliminate everything," end quote. From a former Israeli deputy prime minister, quote, "Send Gaza back to the Middle Ages," end quote. The heritage minister said that Israel, quote, "must find ways for Gazans that are more painful than death," end quote. It is clear from comments like this that Israel is determined to get rid of all Palestinian men, women, and children, either through murder or displacement, and they are using the events of October 7th to justify it. The residents of Moorhead work 40 hours a week, many of us more, and pay taxes which get turned into the bombs, tanks, drones, rifles, and other machines for killing that are being used right now. Congress is looking to pass up to $17.6 billion in funding to pay for Israel's war, according to the National Priorities Project. When passed, Moorhead residents will be taxed over $1.2 million to pay for Israel's war. And so I call on the Moorhead City Council and the Moorhead Human Rights Commission to join cities all over the country, cities like Chicago, Minneapolis, and even Hastings, Minnesota, and sign a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza in order to pressure America's leadership to have Israel implement a permanent ceasefire and allow much-needed humanitarian aid into Gaza. If anything has been made clear over the past few months, it's that the killing will only stop when we make it clear we will not stay silent while it happens. Thank you. Peace and solidarity.
Thank you. Are there any others in the audience who wish to address the City Council at this time? And are there any others in the audience who wish to address the council at this time? All right, seeing none. So just so everyone has information on how we proceed with Moorhead City Council agenda, when citizens have the opportunity to speak, it's your opportunity to speak and provide the information to the council. It's not an opportunity, and nor do we do a back and forth where we respond, questions back and forth or anything like that. It's an opportunity for us to take in the information. And then if there are additional questions or concerns, then we can certainly get back to you based on the information that I think is provided here. So thank you for that. Moving on to, we do not have any public hearings tonight. So the next item on the agenda would be 13A under our Community Development Department, and I will turn this portion of the agenda over to Robin Houston.
Good evening, and thank you, Mayor Carlson and City Council members. As you're aware, Governor Walz signed legislation last year legalizing adult use cannabis and related changes to existing medical cannabis and cannabinoid laws. We are here tonight to address how the city will fit all cannabis-related uses into our zoning ordinance and also repeal our local drug paraphernalia ban, as drug paraphernalia was also made legal last year statewide. The Planning Commission reviewed the proposed zoning use table changes on December 4th and unanimously recommended approval of the changes to City Council without any public comment. Since that meeting, and then also since your workshop on January 30th, we have made some additions and clarifications to the use table to also address all types of medical cannabis uses and all personal uses, to try to be as clear as possible due to some questions that we've already had about where you can grow personal plants. We've also received some comments from Moorhead's only medical cannabis dispensary called Green Goods, and we've addressed their concerns as well in the current version in your packet. For example, we added home personal uses like cultivation, extraction, and sales to the residential and commercial industrial use tables to demonstrate what residents can and cannot do. For example, personal cultivation is only permitted at your home. You cannot grow cannabis at your business or in your man cave that you're renting. This was an actual question. In addition, we are not going to list, we were not going to list all the medical cannabis uses because we did not do that previously, but because there's so much information out there, we just wanted to be straight as possible. So we added those 4 types of medical cannabis businesses into the table. And then we also created the addition of a provisional use requirement for one of the medical cannabis businesses, which is called a combination business. And that one they can manufacture, they can package. So they have industrial and retail uses in one license, so you can't really just put that in one zoning block. So we separated those out. And our current dispensary reviewed that change and they were fine with it. And then also, please note, I will have one slight modification to the provisional use language for medical cannabis combination businesses to be consistent and clarify that they're also allowed to manufacture cannabis edibles in commercial and mixed-use districts, just like recreational cannabis is also allowed in those same districts. So that'll be just one slight change to the table. And that is it, and let me know if you have any questions.
All right, thanks, Ms. Houston. So do I have a motion to approve this first reading of ordinance 2024-02? And I'm not going to...
So moved. Niesemeyer.
White second.
I have a motion and a second. A motion by Niesemeyer, a second by White. Questions or comments from the council? Councilmember White.
Thank you, Mayor. Robin, I was wondering, just looking at some of the differences between some of the policies that we created when we first had edibles to now, I wanted to dig into a little bit more about what will the zoning be for distillate? Because I know one thing that we had talked about when edibles became legal is that we just wanted to make sure that if people were doing that stage of the process where they are using highly flammable material at times, that it's not done in, say, a residential area. So I think I see where it is in here, but I just wanted to make sure what are the regulations going to be around that?
Thank you. Anything involving distillate or anything that's smelly is only going to be allowed in the industrial park. So light industrial, heavy industrial. In the commercial and mixed use districts, it's sales. The manufacturing of some edibles is also allowed. Those don't tend to create a smell, in case we have a mixed use business or a mixed use building that has commercial on the bottom and housing on top. So what we did with the cannabinoids in 2022, we basically left them in the same categories for manufacturing and sales. There is a lot of new terminology in this new law, so that's why I included that glossary, and I'm not sure if we'll incorporate that into our like zoning use table because it's referenced in the statute. I'm not sure if that's required, but we will have it so people can access it, maybe on our website, so they understand what a meso business is or a micro business.
Following up on that, because I think our discussions before were really geared around things like safety. So safety for the people that are around it, safety for the workers, And related to that, one of the issues that we saw popping up was that we have some really great business owners that are creating some products in a really safe way for their workers and making sure that people know what they're purchasing. But we also had some people that really were not even following the state laws that we had before. And I know I asked about this in a workshop, but what will we be able to do just in terms of regulatory or enforcement things if we have cases, again, where somebody that is just openly flaunting the laws and not, in providing, putting out products that are not safe for purchasers?
We have not determined whether the city is going to require a registration process. I'm thinking we probably will, because it's a very simple process. The state would just verify zoning, and then we would add them to the list, but we don't have to bring it to council. So we would have a list of who's doing what in the community. And then I'm sure there's going to be compliance checks, same with alcohol, same with cigarette sales. Anything that has to do with enforcement of, if they're selling things that they're not supposed to be selling, that's going to deal with their licensing through the state of Minnesota, but in conjunction with our local police. Mm-hmm.
Any further questions or comments from council? All right, seeing none, I had a motion and a second on the table, so roll call vote, please. Or I guess we don't need a roll call vote. Councilmember Seldeveld is not on the line, so we don't need to do a roll call vote. So I do have a motion and a second, and no further questions or comments. So this would be a motion to approve this first reading of ordinance 2024-02. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Right, that motion carries of the first reading. Thank you, Ms. Houston. Right, next is Public Works, and this is a resolution to approve a budget adjustment number 24-006 and accept the Minnesota Natural Resources Shade Tree Program bonding grant. So I will turn this over to Public Works Director Paul Fickner.
Good evening, Paul Fickner, Public Works Director. August of 2023, the City Council approved for staff to apply for the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources Shade Tree Program Bonding Grant. With that direction, the City Forester, Trent Wise, submitted an application to the grant to assist with the Emerald Ash Borer Management Plan. I'm here happy to report that the City of Moorhead was selected for the grant. The grant aims to replace trees that are lost to forest pests and establish a more diverse urban forest. The Shade Tree Grant will provide us $375,000, and that will be for the planting of 1,575 trees. It is a multi-year project which will begin the fall of 2024 and be complete the fall of 2027. Trees will be planted by both the City of Moorhead Forestry Division employees and private contractors. So what I have before you tonight is a suggested resolution to accept the Minnesota DNR Shade Tree Bonding Grant and approve a 2024 budget adjustment that shows where those funds will be allocated.
Right, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved. Niesemeyer.
Second.
I have a motion by Niesemeyer, a second by McDougall. Any questions or comments for Paul? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that resolution carries. So congratulations. This is great to have this money to put forth to planting over 1,000 trees in the city of Moorhead, especially since we had to take so many down with the ash borer. All right. Next on the agenda is mayor and council reports. And do any council members have any reports from boards or committees that they attended the past 2 weeks? Councilmember Niesemeyer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a couple of reports. First, from the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. At our last meeting in January, we had an update from Stantec on our spring PFAS testing. There were no items of concern in the PFAS wells, or the wells that were tested for PFAS. And if people are interested what PFAS is, we talk a lot about it at the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. But you can quickly Google Minnesota PFAS Blueprint and look and see what the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency's guidance is for telling places like the Clay County landfill what we should do and what we should be looking for in spaces that have solid waste and are looking for PFAS in the water table. Now, PFAS is everywhere, but what we're looking to do is not increase things to make anything bad for animals, humans, or anything. So it's really great to hear that the tests came back looking good. The SWAC members were invited to go and tour the Perham Waste to Energy facility tomorrow, February 13th. I unfortunately am not able to do that because of work commitments, but I am certain that it will be a lovely trip to Perham to see the incinerator make a whole bunch of steam for energy for those who live in the Otter Tail County. The other update that we have from SWAC is that there's a Resource Recovery Center Advisory Board being developed because we have a really great new building that is a collaboration between the city and the county. And so that advisory board is being formed to help make magic happen between that building and serve the citizens in Clay County and the city of Moorhead. One last update. I know we have a lot of really great citizens in the city of Moorhead who are really interested in formulating lawns and boulevards and doing great things. I know we have updated our city ordinances because they have been really active in letting us know that they want to be the change. And so the Board of Water and Soil Resources, or Bowser, in the state of Minnesota now has applications open for the Lawns to Legumes grant. I know we've had many in the city of Moorhead. In fact, we've even toured them. The city of Moorhead has several pocket prairies on our own city land. And so people who are interested in getting up to $400 to plant on their own property, a native pocket prairie or something to support native bees, they can get up to $400. And so those applications you can submit now through May 15th. So check out that application online at Blue Thumb, or you can get more information at Lawns to Legumes online.
Thank you, Councilmember Niesmeyer. Councilmember Gilbertson.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. A couple of reports from the Moorhead Public Service. Applications for the electric vehicle rebate opened last Tuesday, February 7th. The applications will be reviewed on a first-come, first-served basis until June 30th of 2027 or until the money runs out. Rebates are up to $2,500 for a new electric vehicle or hybrid, up to $600 for used. They must have been purchased or leased on or after May 25th, 2023. The website's minnesota.gov/EV rebates. And today, Moorhead Public Service earned a Smart Energy Provider designation from the American Public Power Association for demonstrated commitment to and proficiency in energy efficiency, distributed energy resources, and environmental initiatives that support the goal of providing safe, reliable, low-cost, and sustainable electric service. It's a 2-year designation, and it's held by only 97 of the nation's nearly 2,000 public power utilities.
Okay. I didn't know.
Thought maybe I was going to say some more, but that covers it.
Okay, all right. Councilmember White.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two things. One, I just wanted to mention from the MAP Bus Committee meeting last week. As many of you know, they've had a long-standing driver shortage. The nice thing is we're starting to see some progress on that due to some of the changes that they've made, particularly in what they're paying, but it's still very difficult to get drivers to fill those positions. So one area where we've seen it directly impacting in our community is the reduction in routes on Route 2, which goes to MSUM. And so we saw a decrease in ridership from MSUM, and they're associating it with that cuts in the number of routes that they had going in a day. And so we did ask them if as they get more drivers, if they would be able to bring that back. There's greater needs in some of the other areas that still have even longer waiting times. So we would be a little bit down on the list, but I think it's something for us to continue to advocate for. The next thing, I just wanted to take a minute, and now we've had folks come to a couple of meetings, and I know some of us have attended public events, and I wanted to thank the citizens who have come to talk about the human rights crisis that is occurring in Gaza. And I know that we as a city tend to focus on our core functions, and clearly a global human rights crisis is not in the definition of that. But I think, as you heard, we have citizens in our community who are directly impacted by it, some of whom have lost many different family members and many friends, but we're all affected by it when we see these atrocities happening. And so I look forward to seeing something come out of the Human Rights Commission and come to our council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember White. Any other council members have reports? All right, seeing none, from the report the last couple of weeks, there's been a number of different meetings that have been held. There was a luncheon meeting with Senator Kupek with the Missouri River Energy Services to discuss and talk about how to move forward to get to carbon-free by 2040. So that was a good, informative meeting. There's been 4 diversion meetings held in the last 3 weeks. Finance meeting, the Moorhead Clay County Joint Powers Association meeting, and the Board of Directors meeting, in addition to operations and management discussion, operations and maintenance discussion that has started within the jurisdictions that make up the diversion authority. That will be probably several meetings that will be occurring over the next year to 2 years. January 26th, there was an intergovernmental retreat, and I wanted to give a huge shout of thanks to Assistant City Manager Mike Reitz, Executive Assistant Jamie McGregor, and I thought Lauren was here, our City Manager intern, Lauren Taylor, who put in a lot of work to put on the intergovernmental retreat where we had all different governmental jurisdictions and elected officials come to a day-long retreat focused on childcare topics and the issues of not having enough spots, not having the funding to be able to pay for individuals who work at childcare facilities or people who open in-home childcare. So all of the topics that would fall under that umbrella. It was really good information to be able to take back and have discussions within our respective jurisdictions and hopefully come together in the future to figure out a way to crack this really hard, challenging issue that's going on. February 1st, City Manager Molly and I met with Fargo officials in regards to a homelessness summit that's coming up on the Fargo side. So thank you to the council members who are going to be able to attend in my place since I will be out of town. And last but not least, I did speak at the Kiwanis Club also on February 1st to talk about the things that are happening in the city of Moorhead, and also to wish 100th birthday to Paul Korsmo, who was celebrating that at the same time as a Kiwanis meeting. So, and that is all I have, and I will turn it over to City Manager Molly.
Thank you, Mayor. No updates tonight.
Right, and we do not have an executive session on the agenda, and we don't have any new business that I am aware of. So it is 6:19, and we are adjourned. So good night, Moorhead.